I am going to take you through a pull workout with only 4 exercises that will target your back, and if I want to be more specific, that's going to be your lats, and on your upper back it's going to be your traps and rear delts, and the reason behind the programming of the order, the sets and reps. So if you are ready, let's start with the first one, the seated lat rowing. You are probably wondering where is the warm-up, and you are right, I did the world's greatest warm-up. One set around 50% of my 1 rep max for 10 to 12 reps, and rest for 2 minutes, and then another set with 70 to 80% of my 1 rep max for 6 reps strictly, and then rest again for 2 minutes, and that is the warm-up. There is no need for stretching around or walking or running on the treadmill or any cardio machines. Yeah, sure, if you prefer it you can do that, but I never had an injury doing this for years, nor did my clients, so we are just going to keep doing this. And then starting the working set. The setup is really simple. Get a strap because your grip shouldn't fail the exercise, keep an upright torso and try to pull towards your hip. This will mainly hit your lats. Now it is your choice if you want to control the eccentrics or not, 2 to 4 seconds. That is a free tension, but it is not a must all the time. Some days it can be controlled and the other days you can just focus on the concentrics. And I did 2 to 3 sets depending on how I felt on that day. And the idea is simple. Muscles grow when the velocity slows down and your intensity goes up. What am I saying? They get the stimulus to grow if that actually happens. So when you are getting close to failure, your pulling speed is going to slow down involuntarily, but your intensity has to go up voluntarily. So it just means that you have no control over how much it is slowing down because we are getting close to failure, but you have control over your effort. You don't have to give up the set when you get to a slight discomfort, even to really hard discomfort, but it is up to you. If I manage to hit 8 to 9 reps, I would increase the weight as long as I don't just hit 4 to 6 reps. From session to sessions, set to sets, the progression is really small now, talking about half reps, and that is fine. Now I don't focus on mind muscle fuckery, no burn, so all the sensations are benched. Also, you can do deep stretch, but just know that it will be unloaded. Always think about what the exercise is doing. The peak force is on you when your arm is next to your side. So that is the stimulating part of the exercise. Everything outside of that is just not as important as others make it to be. Not to mention, this is a lot of chatting about a simple seated rowing. And next one is the pre-jerker, and the order makes sense for me, at least in this case. I want to train my middle lats more in this mesocycle, so that is the first exercise. That will get the best stimulus. But since I'm back and chest dominant, my biceps is a disappointment, so it goes as second. With these simple exercises, where you are just locking your arm in an angle, there is only one thing that can go wrong, and that is the momentum. Now when someone is using momentum, it is always to initiate the movement, but there is a problem when you do that on a pre-jerker, because that is the anabolic part of the exercise. You know the biceps works best in those lower angles, so 0 to 70 degrees, not even 90 degrees. So if you use momentum to outpace the bottom difficult part, you defeat the purpose of this exercise. Anyway, again 2 to 3 sets in the 5 to 9 rep ranges. I have been on the 18 kg dumbbell for 4 weeks now and the reps are really slowly increasing. On the last rep, I usually give myself a really small assist for like 20 degrees and then let myself suffer when I'm out of that peak tension part anyway. And the reason for the single arm variation on both rowing and the curl is to get a bit more out of them. When you do things unilaterally, you just get a better motor unit allocation. So that means that your body doesn't have to use pretty much everything on your body, but it can focus on just one part. And that's the part what you are trying to train and grow. And I don't want anybody to take this out and say, oh yeah, I only want to grow this, so everything is going to be united. No, you don't have to overdo this. But it is a good thing to think about, especially when you are programming for yourself and you have weak points. Chest supported rowing machine. This is for the upper back, using the top handle that gets your palm pronated. Now the Matrix machine is really bad. The handles are rubber, so I need someone to strap myself to them. After you are strapped, you literally can't do this exercise wrong. Because of the grip and handles, your elbow will naturally drift away and that will hit your middle traps. Rhomboids if you squeeze your shoulder blades, and your rear delts by default. Here, getting some stretch is fine, it is not the part that is growing you, but it is not bad either. 2 to 3 sets in the 5 to 9 rep ranges with 2 to 3 minutes rest in between sets. There is always a question, why not rest more than 3 minutes? because that is just messing up the post-activation potentiation. And that is just a fancy way to say that a weight doesn't feel as heavy as it was before. So that means that if you rest longer than 3 minutes, then the weight what you are going to use is going to feel really heavy even though you are well rested, and that perception can limit you from getting to, not to failure, but to get the most out of that muscle. Because if you were able to lift heavier weight for more reps, but now that heavy weight feels really heavy, and now you can do less, even though you have the ability to do more, then it is just limiting you. That's a bit complicated, but I'm hoping that you are following. And finally, moving on the hammer curl. At this point, I'm really fatigued even though it is only 4 exercises, but with all-out intensity. I like doing this on the floor if I have to use the cable. This will hit the biceps, but if you set the cable so the hardest part starts from 90 degree, then it will be more brachialis. It is all about how you set it up and how you execute it. That is why I always say to match your intention and your intent with the exercise setup and with the exercise. 2 to 3 sets in the 5-10 rep ranges. You can do some partials at the bottom too, but just know that it will be mainly biceps. It is not a bad thing though. And since this is the last exercise, it will have the least impact, which is fine. Brachialis is the least of my focus. And this is how I program my pull workout. Put exercises first, that is my main priority muscle, and if it's problematic, do it unilaterally. Not always, but just sometimes. And the least important goes to the bottom. Don't train the same muscle, the same exercise as different variation within the same workout, because it is not doing you anything. It is just adding junk volume. Infinite volume is never going to make up for the lack of intensity you put into your sets. You should always think about that. You have 3 sets to progress. If you fail the first one to progress, you still have 2 more opportunities. But there is no point adding 5 more when you know that you are just not going to progress on any of them. So this is how I always think about sets, as an opportunity to progress. If you like this and you want to know more about programming trainings, then just let me know and I will cover a different one. Talk to you in the next one.